Bienvenido una vez más. Hoy te traigo la última historia de The Complete Book of Farmyard Tales, que se titula Willie Stops the Train. Y la pregunta es, ¿cuántos pasajeros van en el tren? Bien, si tienes el libro, lee con nosotros y lo averiguamos. Soy Mónica, bienvenido a Peque Books. Today we're reading the complete book of Farmyard Tales. We're gonna read the last story. Willie stops the train. This is Apple Tree Farm. This is Mrs. Butt, the farmer. She has 2 children called Poppy and Sam, and a dog called Rusty. Woof woof! This is Ted. He drives the tractor and helps Mrs. Butt on the farm. He waves and shouts to Mrs. Butt. "What's the matter, Ted?" asks Mrs. Butt.
"The train is in trouble. I think it's stuck. I can hear it whistling and whistling," says Ted.
"We'll go and look." "Poppy and Sam can come too," says Mrs. Butt. "And Rusty," says Sam. They walk across the fields. Soon they come to the train track. They can just see the old steam train. It has stopped, but is still puffing and whistling. "Look at those sheep. They are on the track," says Poppy. "That's why the train has stopped." "Silly sheep," says Sam. "Is that naughty Wooly? She escaped from her field again," says Poppy. "She wanted to see the steam train," says Sam. "We must move them. You can help me," says Mrs. Butt. "Come on, Rusty," says Sam. They walk up to the sheep.
"How can we get them home? We can't get them up the bung," says Ted.
"We'll put them on the train," says Mrs. Butt. "Come on, Wooly." They drive the sheep down the track to the train. Wooly runs away, but Rusty chases her back. "We'll lift them up. Please help me, Ted," says Mrs. Butt. Ted and Mrs. Butt lift the sheep up into the carriage.
"All aboard!"
Poppy, Sam, Mrs. Butt, Ted and Rusty climb up into the carriage. Mrs. Butt waves to the driver. The train puffs along. It stops at the station. Mrs. Butt opens the door. Poppy and Sam jump down onto the platform.
"How many passengers?" says the guard.
6 sheep, 1 dog and 4 people, says Mrs. Butt. "That's all." "Let's all go home now," says Mrs. Butt. They take the sheep back to the farm. "I think Wooly just wanted a ride on the train," says Sam. ¿Qué tal? ¿Averiguaste cuántas personas o cuántos animales van en el tren? Sí, ¿por qué? Porque van 6 sheep, 1 dog and 4 people. 6 ovejas, 1 perro y 4 personas. Si te ha gustado, te animo a que lo compres. Y no te olvides de suscribirte al canal, compartir el vídeo o darle al like. Muchas gracias por seguirnos y nos vemos con el próximo cuento.